All right, guys, so we're very excited to be joined now by Jazz Brissac and Danny Rojas. So Jazz works at that Starbucks that unionized in Buffalo. Danny Starbucks is voting on a unionization effort in Buffalo coming up. So we'll get both the past and the present and the future all in one segment. Jazz, let me start with you. Just talk to us a little bit about what this whole experience was like from start to finish and bring us up to speed.
Well, a whole bunch of us created an organizing committee at the end of August of baristas in Buffalo who were trying to unionize. There were 3 stores that immediately got very strong majorities. My store was one of them, and the Genesee store, which has ballots that are currently impounded because the company tried to stack the deck against the unionizing baristas, was another one. We are confident that that one's also going to end up being recognized. But what we really wanted was just to come together and have a real voice and a real democracy in our workplace. Starbucks is a place that, many of us have been at for a long time, that we love working at, but it is also a place where we have no real say in what our work life is like. And Starbucks' response, we were kind of naive. They say that they're a progressive, better kind of company. And we thought, they might sign the fair election principles and agree to actually work with us as we were trying to organize. Instead, they parachuted in what they called the Starbucks SWAT team, from the president of Starbucks North America, Roxanne Williams, on down, and flooded us with over 100 corporate managers.
Wow.
So in about the 4 months that it took us to win our union, we've seen a lot of different union busting tactics, but we've stayed as strong as we can and are looking forward to going into contract negotiations now.
Oh, well, it's something we tracked a lot here. Danny, as somebody who's kind of on the forefront of actually trying to make this happen again, talk to us about what that victory meant in Buffalo to you, and then your efforts and the other barriers that you're facing at the Starbucks locations that you both work at and also are working with.
As a partner at one of the stores who is still waiting on their election date, it gave us a lot of hope and clarity that it can be done, because we saw one store successfully do it, and we are going to have more. We've seen stores file throughout the country since that victory, and it's building a lot of excitement around my store for both partners and customers. I have partners who were already pro-union who felt even more sure of their decision. I had partners who joined the effort after seeing Elmwood basically attain their right to unionize and become certified.
Right.
Jazz, what were some of the tactics that shocked you most? Because I think you made a really interesting and important point that a lot of these companies that build themselves as progressive, different, et cetera, and may undertake efforts, to on certain fronts to live and embody progressive values. But then when it comes to unionization, it's no, absolutely not in that sphere. Starbucks is a primary example of that. So talk to us about some of the tactics that they used that were ultimately pretty shocking to you and your coworkers.
The biggest thing that they did was bring in quote unquote support managers. They're not really here to support us. They're here to spy on us and watch us and try to make sure we can't have conversations. Elmwood is the only store of the stores that have filed for a union that still has our original manager, who's wonderful. We've had, at this point, 5 additional managers at various points working in the store, covering the shifts that, they want watchful eyes on. So that was pretty shocking and overwhelming, because there's no non-work area to have a conversation in. All the conversations have been happening in the store. And they've been, pulling us into anti-union presentations. They've been using their emergency text alert system to send us, "You must vote no for the union." And they've been cracking down, I think, even harder, which Danny can weigh in on, at some of the stores that are going next in the pipeline. For example, coworkers at another store that's having an election have been put on final written warnings, or
Wow.
minor incidents. And
Wow.
I think what they realized is, they are not stopping our movement. They couldn't beat us at Elmwood. So now they're trying even more intense psychological warfare on some of those coming next.
Danny, talk to us a little bit about that. What's going on in terms of what Jazz is talking about?
I have a partner at another store who is also part of that like trio of filing stores, and they were put on a final written warning for a minor offense. And this is something that I'm no stranger to, even pre-union, like unionizing efforts at Starbucks. Starbucks definitely, when you speak out against your store manager or when you're trying to seek out change by calling our partner resources number, they tend to use corrective actions as a means to silence you and make you feel alone. That has happened to me personally before unionizing. So with that like prior knowledge, I was able to go into this knowing like the game I had to play if I wanted to come out of this successful. And I feel that I was put through what I went through initially to be able to be that additional support for my partners and kind of help them navigate this situation in a way where we can come out of it kind of untouched by corporate.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I can't protect them from everything, I do feel very proud of how they've handled everything since we filed.
Jazz, in a sense, their sort of worst nightmare is coming true because obviously why they spend so much money and put in so much time and effort and use such aggressive tactics to try to stop this effort is they were worried about domino effect. They're worried that next Danny store is going to unionize. And of course, we've seen stores, not just in Buffalo, but now in other places across the country, also file for union elections. On the other hand, the reason they do this is because, number one, they want control. Number two, they're worried, oh, this is going to hurt our business. But what have you seen there at your store in terms of how has business been? Has this destroyed Starbucks business in Buffalo? How have customers ultimately responded to this effort?
Customers have been overwhelmingly supportive. I mean, we even have customers coming in and hanging Buffalo as a Union Town ornaments on our lobby Christmas tree. Tips have been higher. Business has been really good. I think we've had regulars who aren't the most talkative coming in and handing us bags of union pins to wear. It's been actually adorable. And I think going into contract negotiations, that's something that we want to harness because while obviously there's economic issues and issues of, health and safety right now, half of our store is in COVID self-isolation and we're trying to make sure that everyone's taken care of. But we also want to put first and foremost that we need to win the right to organize for everyone so that no one has to go through this kind of fight again and really set a standard in a not a purely economic way, but in a power shifting way for what this industry looks like and what it means to be a Starbucks partner.
And Jazz, what are some of the things that you all will be pushing for in your contract? Because as important as this first victory is, we also know that companies have a whole range of tactics that they use to try to never negotiate that first contract. When we saw this happen with Dollar General in Missouri, there was a store that voted for a union. The company engaged in these sort of sham contract negotiations, and ultimately when they were forced to recognize the union, they just shut the store down. So what are some of the things that you will be pushing for in terms of contract negotiations, and what have your interactions with corporate been like to this point?
Well, I mean, most of my interactions with corporate have been when, they've had top executives in the stores telling us to vote no. I haven't had that many interactions with them. But I think going into contract negotiations, we've asked Starbucks to sign an agreement for equity and sustainability that basically says, we're recognizing the union. We will stop fighting the union going forward and respect all partners' right to organize. And we're going to actually make this negotiations a place where we recognize all the diverse voices of partners and try to make this company the best and most sustainable it can be. I think from everything from seniority pay and better benefits so that no one's going into medical debt for healthcare needs to actually making sure that our company is living up to what it should be doing on a sustainability front, on making sure that everyone is respected and truly treated equally, because certainly there's a lot of divides in our workplace, and Starbucks could be doing more on equitable promotions and equitable treatment.
Very rare.
Danny, finally, just tell us what the timeline is. When is your election scheduled? When are people going to start voting?
We currently don't have a scheduled election date. We're hoping to get some more clarity on that by at some point today. There's a lot of delays and moving parts, and we were hoping to have an election date by now. If I can make my best prediction, I would say any time starting by the end of the month, I'm hoping, but I don't have any specific information on the date.
Got it. Well, how can people support you guys? This Jazz, go. You can go first. Go ahead.
We're asking that folks call on Starbucks to, sign on to our agreement for equity and sustainability, actually recognize our right to organize, and bargain a contract that partners and Starbucks corporate can be proud of.
Got it. What about you, Danny?
I think the same sentiment that our customers can definitely hold Starbucks accountable, reach out and express why you want to see your favorite baristas be able to get the right to organize and why you think it could impact their livelihood. And just community support. In Buffalo, we started handing out lawn signs, and I think that the more you can get your community involved in your unionizing efforts, you'll be able to see a larger payoff. And I think that resonates with Starbucks values as well, which will be really impactful.
Yeah.
Well, consider it called for.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We've been tracking this closely with a lot of excitement. Please keep us updated, and Happy New Year, too.
Stay in touch, guys. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. It was an amazing year for us last year. We succeeded far beyond our wildest dreams. We've got big stuff in store. I mean, that union segment and more, we talked about, different ways that we can go out on the road. Things are percolating, hiring more people in order to cover both the labor organizing. And look, we got to gear up, as Krystal's monologue was all about. Election's coming. It's an election year.
Not just the midterms, man.
Yeah.
The presidential election.
The presidential and the midterms are starting. We are going to have people all across this country. We're getting ready for how that all looks like. So we need your support. Link is down there in the description. We really appreciate it. We miss you guys so much. I'm so happy to be back here.
It's nice to be back, guys.
Yeah.
We love you. Happy New Year, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.